Thank you so much for joining me today, Harry, and taking time out of your day to talk about the tour and production of Beauty and the Beast. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Again, like I kind of just told you beforehand, I'm so excited to talk about this. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite story. Um, and I can only imagine what it's like to step into the production of Beauty and the Beast. What is that kind of like for you?
It's a real dream come true. I was absolutely obsessed with this musical growing up. In fact, it was the very first show I auditioned for when I was 6. I auditioned to play Chip in the West End production, and I didn't get the role, and I'm still not over it. But at least I'm now in the show, but not playing Chip, unfortunately.
You get to redeem yourself. You're like, this time I got into it and it all
Yeah,
worked out.
absolutely.
um, So usually I ask people like what the story is of Beauty and the Beast, but I think we all know the story of Beauty and the Beast. Growing up, this movie's been around forever. Um, but specifically, I was kind of wondering about like the magic of Disney on the stage production. How do you feel like they've captured that Disney magic?
Well, the thing that's so wonderful is we have pretty much pretty much our entire creative team are the original creative team from the 90s.
That's
So
awesome.
they're people who know the show inside out. So where they've made cuts and changes and things, they're people who I feel I completely trust to make all those decisions because they know it better than anyone. So there are some bits they've snipped down, they've shortened sections, and there's some things they've changed in the show to make it tighter and sweeter and everything. And they're bringing in technology that um, maybe we couldn't have had in the 90s. So like that there's some things that are very different. So if you've seen the original production, which was incredible because I remember it very, very well. If you remember that version, there are so many elements that you will see in this as well, but there are lots of new things as well. And it's kind of exciting to, I mean, for instance, Be Our Guest it's a full tap number now, which is so cool.
Oh,
So
that's
we
awesome.
have these Lumieres who can really tap. Obviously, Gavin Lee did it in London. Now we have Danny on our tour, who's just the most incredible tapper. So that's just given that number a whole new lease of life. It's re-energized. It's just re-energized the entire number, and it's very exciting to watch.
I think that's kind of incredible that all these years later we can still reimagine and reinvent a story that is so iconic.
Hmm. And we were very lucky to have Linda in rehearsals who wrote the original screenplay and wrote the stage play. She came into rehearsals and she was there with us for at least a week. And the thing that was very exciting for me is she's written new scenes for LeFou and Gaston, which we were her
Oh, that's
first
awesome.
actors to play these scenes. So that was wonderful because sometimes when you go into big long running shows or shows that are very established, there's a mold that you have to fit into. And I think because of these new scenes, we were given a bit of freedom to kind of make it our own, to come up with some ideas. And that was a lot of fun, is to go into something where even the creatives were still creating, were still finding where the laughs were, what was working, what wasn't. And so that was very exciting.
That has to be so cool to be like, this is the first, the first run that we're doing these scenes for. The world's getting to see you in this role doing these new scenes for LeFou and Gaston.
Yeah. And the thing is, so here's the thing. I've never had this before. Our first day of rehearsals was possibly the scariest thing I've ever experienced. I've done a read through of a show before where you open the scripts and everyone sits around and you read it, which is terrifying. We, without having had a single music rehearsal, they said, let's just sing through the show as well. So we did a full reading and sing through of the show prior to having any rehearsals. But I knew we had these new scenes ready to go. And I was suddenly sat next to Stephen, who was playing Gaston, and straight away, our banter in the scenes it was just there already, but all the scenes just landed. So I knew that even though Linda hadn't met us yet, her rhythm, her comic timing rhythm was so there for us that it just worked straight away. All the laughs kind of happened in that first read through. So for us, it was about tweaking it to make sure it's consistent. But it was, yeah, but that was a terrifying first day of rehearsals. It was,
I,
3, 2, 1, do your full performance, go.
that has to be terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But also, I think it speaks to how well she knew the characters and also the choices that they made for the people to represent these characters. Because if it all went together that first time, I mean, that's the magic right there.
Absolutely. The thing that's been really lovely with those new moments is there used to be a scene. So Gaston sings "Me," and before that, there was a scene that is kind of in the movie. That in the movie, there's a scene before he proposes to Belle where the three girls are crying outside. LeFou is ready with the band, and all that moment's happening. In the stage production originally, LeFou was taken out and it was just the three girls with Gaston. They've now done a swap. So we now have a scene where I'm getting ready to be there to hand him the ring, to hand him everything. And of course, everything goes wrong. So, yeah, so this version is still kind of the reverse of what happened originally in the stage production. They've just taken the scene from the film and swapped which characters are now in that moment. So it's a lot of fun to do. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And it sounds like they kind of re-expanded again on who LeFou is and made him more, because in the original animated film, he's kind of a two-dimensional character. He's kind of the comedic relief, but it sounds like he's there throughout a little bit more and gets to have a more well-rounded person.
Yeah, and I find by having more stage time with Gaston, we've had time to establish their relationship. And I think when I saw the show in the UK, this version in the UK, I remember after Belle, there's a short scene, but then you don't see LeFou and Gaston together until the Gaston number. Um,
Okay.
LeFou comes on separately and does a scene, but I think just to have that time to really establish their dynamic, I think that really makes a difference. So by the time we get to Gaston, there's a build up to it. So I feel like the audience are very much cemented in their heads the idea of the two of us are always a double act. We're always together. I'm always there carrying his props and his stuff and getting punched around.
Right. You're his right-hand man through and through, who's
Yeah.
there through the good and the bad. What is it like to step into the shoes of a character that is so iconic, such as LeFou?
So much fun. So much fun. And at the same time, I am so grateful this team have allowed me to bring my own take on it at the same time. So I feel like there was a moment a few months back where we were on tour, and for me, this was the biggest compliment where um, I was talking backstage in my normal voice, and one of the dressers did a double take and looked at me, and she went, "This is so weird." And I said, "What?" And she said, I just hear you doing the cartoon voice on stage, and now you're talking with this, light English accent." And so I was like, great, as long as I'm paying tribute to the original voice in some way, so that there's a bit of familiarity that this is still the essence of the character from the film. Um, but at the same time, I think my LeFou definitely becomes more of a, how do I put it? When he gets to his number, he enjoys turning into a showgirl. Like this is like
Okay.
it's such a big production number, so it's very much more. This number becomes more showbiz as it goes on. Like Matt West has gone to town building up this number, and for all the fans, we do have the mug clinking moment. We do have that because I remember online people were going, "Where's the mugs? Where's the mugs?" We still have it, but now we have trampolines that we jump on, and we have tricks, and I have a whole thing where Gaston's throwing knives at me and he's firing guns and I'm ducking. Like so that there's all sorts of crazy things in that number. But yeah, they've allowed me to bring my own humor, and I'm a big fan of silent comedy, and so I've brought a lot of like moments from Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Harpo Marx. I brought a lot of kind of moments and kind of visual humor in that I've stolen over the years from other people that I feel like is working well in this. So yeah, it's been fun to step into it, but I'm so grateful they've given me some freedom to bring my own humor to it.
I think that's also really cool too, because I mean, granted, I am not an actor. I'm a psychologist by my day job, but um, being able to have a little bit of that growth and wiggle room in a character, it's not like when I assume like you step into Wicked, you're playing whatever rules they have dictated for you. Where this one, they're like, you get to shape it a little bit. You get to have a little bit of, of you in LeFou.
Yes, and I've having done the show you just mentioned. there's a real challenge in that because you when you go and see one of these big commercial shows and someone's giving a wonderful performance, they are given the barriers, they're given the amount of freedom they have is very limited. But if they're still able to make it feel organic and natural and as if the role was made for them, they're doing a fantastic job. But that is a real challenge. So
Sure.
to do something where we were given a bit more of a say and a bit more freedom. And Matt has been doing the show for years, but what I appreciate is he knows what 100% works. You know, like this moment has to be there. But he allowed us to play a few different versions, and then when he found the one that landed, he was like, "This is the one that's working." And but I appreciated him allowing people to play, and all the actors in the cast. I mean, all of the actors playing the object character, and the object characters are just so hysterical, and it was a joy to watch them also expand on these roles and play.
So it's kind of like if as long as you get from like point A to point B, there you can kind of meander your journey through there in a sense.
Yeah, and the thing that's also been wonderful is if anyone gets a chance to see one of our understudies, it's the same thing that there are certain moments that, you know, are comedic beats that are set, but overall, it's been so exciting because every understudy who's come on, they're always in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. However, they're all bringing their own flair to the role, which is so exciting and refreshing for us just doing the same role every night. To suddenly, I've now done the show with 3 different guest-ons, and all of them are wonderful, and all of them have a slight different take on it. So it's wonderful for me to get to bounce off, and it keeps the show fresh and eh, there can be something that doesn't quite land where you have an understudy being forced to copy exactly what a principal does, because sometimes that doesn't work on that person. And
Sure.
so I've really appreciated this team allowing the understudies to make these roles their own because um, otherwise it becomes very, very static and it doesn't become yeah, it just doesn't always work for that other person. So again, I've appreciated and honestly, I've been quite surprised. I didn't expect there to be as much freedom in that way. So it's been really exciting to see that.
Speaking on understudies, I think that's like you said. Sometimes when you have to copy exactly, you can tell as an audience of like this doesn't feel organic, this doesn't feel
Mm.
natural, and so it's always the shows where you can tell that they're feeling very comfortable. They get to step into that. That does feel it makes for a better experience all around. I'm assuming for actors as well as for the audience.
Oh yeah, I've always loved. I if anything, if I'm doing a show for a long time, I kind of I normally let out a bit of a sigh at stage door if I walk in and I see it's just the full cast on. I'm like, oh, I love having something
Sure.
new. I love having, and even if I'm not on stage with them, I love being in the wings, watching someone taking their moment and being wonderful. I love that excitement. It's always a thrill to see a swing go on and all the understudies go on. So I personally, yeah, for me, that's what keeps me alert and inspired all the time.
So with you kind of stepping into this huge role, this is again, I love Beauty and the Beast. I know lots of people who love Beauty and the Beast. This is a beloved Disney classic. Is there a pressure to assuming a role such as this, even though you do get to kind of have some wiggle room with it?
Yes, I try not to think about it too much. Um,
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it
no,
up.
no, yes, and do you know what? Yes and no. I would say there are a few shows I've done where I feel like I've been quite lucky that the role that I'm playing isn't one of the ones that are as vulnerable to that. For instance, no one is going to be disappointed with the performance Danny's giving as Lumiere, but if people came to see the show, they've got this image of Lumiere in their mind. They're going to be blown away by what Danny is doing because I can't think of anyone more perfect for the role. LeFou, I feel like is kind of he's one of the characters that's not right at the forefront of their mind. So like
Sure.
it's one that I don't feel like there's quite as much pressure on. So yeah, it's a little bit like years ago I did a chorus line in the West End, and I remember there were certain characters where you get to stage door and everyone had a comment on, well, I wasn't a fan of this person because people have an image of how they think that role should be played. And I was playing Mark, which is the one that people go, which one is that again? And then it's like a pleasant surprise when they enjoy that character.
Okay.
So I was kind of, for me, the pressure was off in that show. However, when I went on for Mike, who sings I Can Do That, I remember in my head going, people really have this image of what they expect from this number. Let's hope I give them something they're happy with. And so, yeah, with this one, I don't feel that too much. But now I probably will after thinking about it.
No, no, don't think about it. Don't think about it. um, Speaking of all your roles, I was, doing my research for this interview, and you have a lot of credits to your name, a lot of different shows, a lot of iconic shows. How has your experience with Beauty and the Beast differed from some of the other roles that you've had? I mean, you're in Mary Poppins, Wicked, West Side Story, like here in the U.S., also in the West End. Like you've done
Yeah.
it all.
Well, this I've worked with lots of American teams in the UK. So I've been living in the US for just over 3 years now. So a lot of the shows I did in London, A Chorus Line, Wicked, Hairspray, Book of Mormon, they were American teams who would come over. But this was the first. I don't want to say big because I don't want to put down regional shows here because those shows have been wonderful to do here. But this has been my first year-long contract
Sure.
over here in the States. So it was the first time rehearsing in New York City and then committing to a full year on a tour here. And so some things feel exactly as normal. And then I need to do a whole TikTok series on this, but it's crazy the differences. Down to before the show starts, the stage manager calls places. In the UK, we say this is your beginner's call. And like just
Okay.
things like that, it's just like the same but different. So there's just different names, there's different rules. There's so many different rules because of different unions over here and how strong certain unions are here. So those are the main differences. But overall, it's been what's the word? It's been exciting to get to see so many cool places so far. I mean, to be in Chicago for 4 weeks at the beginning of this contract was just a dream. And we've got so many amazing places coming up. Yeah, so I'm trying to think what's different.
I mean, I
I
think
mean,
those are
yeah, I
beautiful
mean,
answers.
was that?
I said, I think those are beautiful answers.
Yeah, I probably gave about 12 mini answers.
Uh, so with Beauty and the Beast, there's quite a lot of themes running through the show, but which one resonates the most with you?
Ooh. Do you mean overall in the show, or do you mean a theme that's related to me and
Either or, whatever's speaking to you right now.
well, the theme that I think is interesting for Gaston is and LeFou is be careful who you trust. This person who is in the opening number, he's like Peter Pan. He's skipping around town. He's full of energy, and everyone loves him. We sing a whole song about him. And the minute power gets into the wrong hands, and it I would say for our point of view, because we're very separate in the show to everyone else. From our point of view, I would say be careful who you trust because he looks like the absolute hero, but he ends
Sure.
up being the real beast of the show. So I would say that's the thing that from our point of view, it's very strange how different everyone's version of the show is. From our point of view, we only see one angle, but our journey is he is Mr. Perfect, and by the end of the show, he's the most dangerous person in the piece.
And that really makes sense for LeFou too, because I mean, he's the one that has his eyes open the most by the end. He doesn't. Granted, what version you sometimes see, sometimes he almost turns against Gaston, and doesn't
Yeah,
understand
which
why he's
I
doing that.
liked that take in the movie, the remake. However, I've I've gone for a different take because we don't have the Maison de Luz song, which is normally where you see the plot
Okay.
taking place with Monsieur Dark. So there's a long gap from Gaston to us coming on to do the mob song, which is about an hour where you don't see us, maybe
Okay.
even longer. So I've gone from the end of Gaston, we go into Gaston Reprise, where I'm like, oh, you're letting me in on something. So there's a kind of like excitement to doing this pretty
Sure.
evil thing. And in my head, by the time we get to the mob song, whatever he says, I'm therefore, so I'm not I'm going full villain by the end as well,
Okay.
because we have this really lovely but horrible moment that Matt West put in, where finally the ensemble are all singing and they've got their weapons and everything, and he brings us down to the corner, me and Gaston, and we just burst into laughter as if we're fully aware we've turned them into a mob against
Okay.
the bees. So we have this moment where we're fully aware of what we're doing, which playing someone who's a bit of a fool for most of the show, to know there are moments where he's actually very aware of what they're doing instead of just being the follower, I think gives him a little bit more of an evil streak at the end, which
Absolutely.
yeah, I've been kind of playing with, and I think that transition for both of us really is fun because they're the two lovable characters in that one, and then if you can see where over time when things aren't going their way, it could lead to them changing as people. So yeah, so we've been having fun with that. So that was a very long answer to your question, but yes, be careful who you trust is the theme, I'd say.
I think that as a psychologist, what I love about that is that quite often when we hero worship somebody, we can become a part of the mess too. I think that we see this throughout media all the time. We see this in real life. And so to see that you get to kind of infuse that storyline into LeFou makes him an even more interesting character, that he's not getting like almost a redemption arc.
Yeah, but also the conversation we had in rehearsals with Matt and Sam and Stephen, we sat around and we were discussing their dynamic, and something we came up with is if Gaston isn't successful, I've got nothing. My only
True.
place in society, the only reason people speak to me is because I'm associated with Gaston. So him getting rejected by Belle, anything that's not going well, there's a bit of urgency for me to make sure this goes to plan because
Sure.
he's my hero. And if people don't see him in that way, what am I? I'm not. So for me, it's all about his success is my success, all the way through. So yeah, because that makes sense in the opening number. And Bell, there's a bit where he's kind of hesitant about the idea of the inventor's daughter, but a lot of that is like, yeah, but is she good enough? She seems a bit weird. She's reading books and all of that
Sure.
stuff is, if you pick the wrong girl, that might not look good for you, which doesn't look good for me and our future. And so, yeah, that's one version that we were playing with.
That's a really cool spin on that character because I think that's something that we haven't really seen in any other version of that.
Yeah, he needs Gaston to survive.
Absolutely. So then one final question for you is just what are you hoping audiences take away from this production of Beauty and the Beast?
Escapism, I'm hoping for.
Much needed.
Yeah, I really think so. It's been an absolute joy seeing people of all ages see this show, but especially seeing people bring young children, many of whom are in their adorable ball gowns. I haven't seen a single small LeFou, and I'm very upset about that. But we've had children dressed up as Gaston and the Beast, and so that's very very magical. So I would say that I would say escapism. I think it's just to step into the world of Disney magic for 2.5 hours. Or maybe it's just under that, but to step into this world, um, and just be our guest. But literally that, I think it's just such a roller coaster, this show, and it's such a yeah, it's pure magic. It really is, and we have had so many lovely interactions with audience members at Stage Door and getting a chance to hear what they think, and it's been so lovely hearing people who grew up with this movie, who grew up with the stage show, kind of reliving their childhood with this, and then other children literally having their first experience of it. So it's lovely for that. So yeah, I would say my word is escapism. I hope that's what people take away.
But also Detroit, you heard it. We need a small LeFou to show up at this
Yes,
production.
I if I see that, that will make my year. I would love at least one child to come dressed as LeFou one day. It's probably
Well,
easier costume. I don't have candlesticks. I'm not a teapot. Like
right.
just get a mullet wig and a long coat, and you're there.
Well, Detroit, let's make that happen because we will let you know Disney's about making dreams come true. So thank you so much, Harry, for talking with me today. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
So Beauty and the Beast arrives at the Fisher Theater October 1st and runs through the 12th. So get your tickets now. And we'll see you at the Enchanted Castle.